Hey everybody, welcome back for another video. I wanted to show you guys a swing progression of one of my online clients, Chris. This is a 1 month progression. Really big improvements here in my opinion over the month. He's really diligent with the work he puts in to hitting balls. As you guys can see, he's got his garage to hit balls into. So I'm just going to show you guys his original swings here, down the line and face on. Roughly 106 ball speed or so he was saying with a 7 iron, slightly inside out, slightly down on it, which is good. But you can see when he makes a swing, he's actually quite narrow with not much width or height of the backswing. So very typical amateur player. Club moves on some pretty good lines. Club head goes through the hands, goes steep up, but you can see at the top of the backswing, he's very narrow. So his hands are in line with his shoulders, so he's no depth. His forearm to his bicep is very folded, so there's not much width, and then that's not what we want. Okay, so hands are kind of low too, so not much height either. But he hits it pretty good, pretty decent numbers, just not much consistency because of the lack of width and depth. He's forced to pull his hands down late, shallow, and he doesn't have much rotation through the ball. But he hits it pretty good. Overall, travels through some pretty good spots in the swing. Face-on view, you can see when he makes his backswing, not much turn, and he has that weird lower body sway away from the target at the end of the backswing as he tries to make his backswing longer. That's not very good either. So first things first, I just tried to help him turn more. So you can see video on the right, he doesn't turn much. You don't see much of the back. I wanted to help him add more turn. So when we added more turn, I'm going to put it on the left here. I asked him to flare his feet more. So you can see the video on the right, the first video, his feet's kind of pointed straight out at 12 o'clock. Now I have him pointing his left foot, his lead foot at 10:30 and his right foot at 1 o'clock. That helps him turn more. So I asked him to turn his hips the most, turning his right hip back, letting his right leg straighten, which he does. Still has a little bit of a hip sway at the end, which we'll fix later on. But you can see at the top, he's turned much more. You can actually see the back of his back. Right leg is actually pretty straight, which I like. And he's turned more, which is very important. How that translates to the down the line video. I'm gonna put the down the line video on the right here. You can see he's turned more, adding a little bit more width and depth. So comparing the video on the left, which is the original video, and then the video on the right here, you can see at the top of the backswing, he looks a little different now. So at the top, you can barely see any window. So this window between his arms, he actually has a triangular window there. Compared to the video on the left, he has no window basically. Hands are a little bit higher now. You can see it's above his head as opposed to being pretty much in line with his head. And then he's a little deeper because his hands are now behind his shoulders compared to before it's pretty much on his shoulders. So lots of good changes. You can definitely see more hip turn allowing him to turn his torso more, which is allowing him to get more depth and width. So great start to that. So as we move forward, next video, I'm asking him to actually let me put on the previous video. So the second video I posted of him adding more hip turn, we can see his hip sway at the very end, because if I put a line down where his hips are, he actually turns away from the line and then goes back towards the line. So we don't want the two different movements, okay? So he turns away from the line in an effort to turn more, and at the very end, he hip sways back into the line, which I don't want. So now, on the video on the right here, I asked him to turn into the line. You can see he drew a line beside his right hip on his own, and I asked him to turn into it, loading the inside right heel. Still has a little bit of a hip sway because of his upper body kind of moving towards the upper target at the end, but much better. So you can see his hips actually sway, turn into the line. Pretty good. Just a little bit of a pelvis sway towards his right toes because his upper body is moving towards the target. But overall, not bad. And in addition to that, I'm asking him to keep his right arm straighter so that his right arm is not folding so much at the end of the backswing. And that's also looking a little bit better. It's not as high and deep as before, but because we're really focusing on the right arm staying long, I was okay with ignoring that for a moment. But you can see the video on the left here actually looks quite good. So you can see still has much more depth than before. And then he shallows the club a little earlier now, which is nice. Which will help him eventually start rotating through the ball more, which you can see already has started to happen. So I'm going to put the first video back on the left, the current video, video 3 on the right, which you just saw. And you can see first video, steep early, doesn't rotate much through the ball. Now video on the right, because he's a little bit deeper and wider and turn more, a little earlier shallow on the right, and actually rotating through the ball a little bit more through the follow through now, which is nice to see. So great start halfway through the month, which I really, really like. So now things start getting pretty good. Video on the left here, I have him try to exaggerate the depth, okay? So he's feeling like his hands don't get higher than his chest or his waist. All he feels like is the hands going way back, and you can see this is probably the most depth he's ever gotten in his life. So hands there, shoulders there, I love it. We also start trying to get him to, in order to get more width and depth, I wanted to see his right forearm be closer to 90 degrees to the ground, which he has here. Because if you watch the video, I'm just going to put it on the right here, his original video, you can see at the very top, his right forearm is definitely not 90 degrees to the ground, roughly 57 degrees to the ground. Compared to the video on the left, now you can see it's definitely around 90 degrees to the ground. So much, much better. I know the hands are very low, but I really don't mind that at the moment because I was, again, just trying to get him to do whatever it takes to get more depth in the swing along with the width. And you can see as a result, club is getting very shallow earlier in the downswing, which I like. Excuse me. And then again, he's rotating through the ball much better. So really, really good. Also, as he's working on this, he's working on turning into that right hip. That line on the right beside his right hip is that indicator. And now he doesn't do that pelvis sway anymore. So you can see when he turns, he maintains posture. Pelvis doesn't sway towards his right toes. Really like that. And his upper body is not swaying towards the target at the end of the backswing. So this is really, really good. Looks pretty much perfect from the face-on view. I like that the upper body is slightly loaded behind the lower, which I love. Nice additional turn compared to his first face-on video. You can see so this is the first face-on video. As you can see, immensely different. So you can see hip sway this way, pelvis sway this way, and upper body sway that way, which is definitely no good. See that? We don't want any of that. Now we have very strong turn with the video on the right. Right hip turns back and into the line, loading the inside right heel. Pelvis stays strong, upper body turns nicely. Way more turn, way more loaded. I love that. That's pretty much perfect for Chris on his face-on model. I really, really like that. And now we just try to add more height into the video. So we know that we were very deep on the previous video. I just had him work on the depth. I didn't care. I really didn't care how high the hands got. I love that. And then we started adding more height to it. Whoops, that's the wrong video. Excuse me while I just blow my nose. So you can see, big difference now. Video on the left, okay? Adding that width, depth, and the height. Amazing there. So I'm just going to quickly actually put the old video on the right here. So original video, you can see backswing, no depth, no width, no height, okay? Hands are pretty much same height as the head, hands in line with the shoulders, right arm super folded. So he's got the trifecta of no width, no depth, and no height. Now, on the video on the left, great job after 1 month. He's able to get his hands much deeper, still traveling along good lines. Club travels through the hands, up the arm, nice steep shaft. But now he's continuing the width and the depth in the backswing. So hands are now higher than his head. Hands are now behind his shoulders. And you can see his right arm is now a lot closer to 90 degrees. Again, I don't need it to be exactly 90. I just like it closer to 90 than 45 degrees on the right. So very, very nice positions here on the left. And you can see as a result, club shallows out way earlier. He's rotating through the ball, hitting nice push draws. And he's actually up to 114 ball speed. So basically up 10 miles an hour of ball speed in the first month because he's able to just retool his backswing to load better, to get into a better spot at the top to help him fire and turn aggressively through the ball in the downswing. So again, I'm going to show you guys original video on the right and normal speed. And then new video on the left. Much better. Love how it's moving on the left here. So good. And then I'm going to show you the face-on video. Old video on the left. New video on the right. And normal speed. Right video first. Not much turn. New video, much more turn. Love that. So if I put these, I'm just going to put the new videos together for you. I really, really like how these look. And the results are good too. So little push draws, up 10 miles of ball speed, up to mid 110s now. Really helping him get the width, get the depth, get the height, get the turn. And this is the progression we kind of work through over the course of the month. Really, really good there on the left. Really, really good here on the right. So looking forward to continuing to work on this in month 2, getting him more to do this easier and to start adding more speed into it in the downswing. But really happy with how things are going in this online first month. I'm honestly really happy to see. So any questions, please let me know. Leave in the comments below. And we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks, guys.